Happy Easter, everybody.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I bet you're wondering why there's two of us on the stage. And the bald guy.
Almost.
Makes us faster. Okay, let me start this way. A couple weeks ago, I interviewed a member of our community. Her name's Amber. And what I was interviewing her for is because in my mind, she was an expert in 12-step. She doesn't agree with that, but it was, again, she knows way more than I do. And I was trying to ask the question, is belief in a higher power enough to find sobriety? Is just believing something enough to solve whatever problems in your world? The psychologist we've been studying this last couple months says, actually, no. And Amber said, oh, no. Third step's important. That's the belief in a higher power. And then I kept saying, the fourth step, the fearless moral inventory, that's the one. She's like, yeah, but you have to do all 12. It's not just belief. Mm-hmm. It's more. She says the people who are trying to do just belief and then not do any of their own work, calls it spiritual bypassing. Using our spirituality, our tradition, our rituals to not have to do any personal work. To not heal the parts in us that maybe are a little bit broken. And if that wasn't profound enough, she had this one more line that she said. She said, I was living, but I was living in death. Can you play the video for us?
I've struggled with addiction the majority of my life. I would have tried my first substance around 13, 14 years old. And it just kind of slowly got more and more intense, right? And by slowly, I would say for the next 4 years, like as a teenager. By the time I hit 18, I was off to the races. And I was highly functioning in quotes for several years. I was 32, 33 when I finally met the person that would introduce me to the drug that totally brought me to my knees in less than a year. And it kind of just everything spiraled out of control from there. My bottom should have been when I lost my house and my job. Okay. And it still took me a year and a half of trying over and over and over to do it my way. Okay. Well, I never believed I was gonna die. And then there was this moment that I realized I was already living in death. You know, my life I was doing nothing. I could not function. I went from always having a job to not being able to show up to work. All of the things that I used to do that were normal, okay. I couldn't show up for my family. I couldn't show up for my friends. I hardly had any friends. Right. Everything was kind of going to shit, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, living in death. That is a statement, isn't it? A picture. I bet there are some who are listening today who might be in recovery who would say, you know, if you were to just change a few of those details in Amber's story, that'd be my story. I know what living in death feels like. You know, I'm not per se an addict, but I have to say that when Amber said, this thing was keeping me from showing up in my world the way I wanted to, I go, I know that feeling. I know that well. Maybe you do too. Man, for a good chunk of my life, especially my adult life, I've struggled in a very particular area. I've struggled with overcommitting myself, and I've talked about this at times. There's just this propensity when I'm talking with someone or when I'm involved with a situation and a need arises, I find it difficult often to just say no. I feel like I say yes, sure. Someone asks me, hey, could we meet this weekend, we're kind of figuring out when we're going to meet. They say, I could meet you Saturday. And I just say, okay, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, oh, I know I had some things going with Kathy and the kids. But I just figure I'll have to deal with that later. I need to say yes to this. And it just happened so spontaneously and to a point where it was just becoming so commonplace. And in my mind, I was going, it's an honorable thing I'm doing. I'm helping. I'm giving of myself to someone. Kathy would come home, or I'd come home, and Kathy was all excited about the plan. I said, yeah, about that. I can't do it because I got this other, I'm helping. And she'd say, wait, what? But we may, I said, Kathy, is ministry. Or this, they really needed help. You can understand, can't you? I'd almost put it into her thing, and she'd say, you couldn't just tell them that you were busy? You couldn't just say no? For the longest time, I would say, Kathy, you don't understand my world. And down deep, I knew something inside was wrong about what I was doing. I knew down deep, I'm like going, I don't think this is right. And I could see the pain in Kathy's eyes or the disappointment in my kids. When Amber says, I just couldn't show up in the world the way I wanted to, I'm going, oh, I know what that feels like. Maybe you felt this at times, where you haven't been able to show up in your world the way you wanted to. And maybe it wasn't this inability to say no to people. Maybe it was some other instinctual pattern of behavior that just would take over inside of you. Maybe it wasn't saying yes. Maybe for you it's a pattern of avoidance, where all of a sudden there's a situation that you just feel uncomfortable about, and so you just turn the other way. Maybe there's a conversation that someone really needs to have with you, and you just find ways around that thing. Running, escaping. Maybe you're medicating in some way, numbing from some pain. You don't even realize it. It might not even be drugs or alcohol. Maybe it's shopping. Maybe it's eating. Maybe your instinctual pattern is when a certain situation arises, you find yourself anger just all of a sudden taking over, and all of a sudden the words turn sharp, and you say things in a certain way to someone in your life and inflict a jab, a pain, some pain. And it happens so quickly, you don't even realize what's going on. That's the thing about these instinctual patterns. They just all of a sudden, they come up. We find ourselves doing these things. And it's not until it's almost too late, the damage has been done. And we find ourselves going, what was I thinking? By that point, whatever that thing was that boiled up, that had us just automatically reacting, has left its mark. That line, I was already living in death. Maybe to some degree we all know what that kind of feels like.
It's one thing to say, hey, I'm living in death and I don't like this. I'm living in death and the people around me don't like this. I can think of maybe a rage instance last night in a certain drawer that just got broken. When you're done, you can go, wait, I know I don't want to live this way. This isn't helping me. This isn't the way I want to be in the world. But how do you see through it? And that's why we've been exploring this way, a metaphor of looking, saying, what if there's different parts inside of us? I have a part that has a lot of rage. I have a part also that when I'm raging, it looks at the rage and goes, okay, buddy, like calm down, seriously. We have these parts. And when we start to look through parts, we can kind of start to go, oh, wait, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And not just, how do I lock the anger down? No. How do I go deeper and find out what the anger is doing for me? Mm-hmm. There's this idea that says we have these parts. They're old wounds. Can you throw up the exiled parts? These are the parts of us that are young and they carry things in us that maybe we don't even understand, but it's these wounds that we have. We don't like to feel these feelings. We've armored ourselves against. When Jeff sits in front of that person, the person says, hey, can we meet on Saturday? There's a part of him that says, we can't say no to him. That would feel horrible. Sometimes it's easier to see in somebody else their parts, because it's like, actually my parts don't feel like parts. They just feel like true.
Yeah.
We have these exile parts. Then we have the next layer. Can you throw that up, Yanni? These are the parts that we put around our exiles to never feel it. I don't like to feel sad. I hate that feeling. Country music was playing at the restaurant the other day. I'm like, why are they playing this music? It's just bumming me out. I don't want to feel sad. I have these protector parts. Mine is like attack. Can you please turn off the music? Because this is horrible. Because God forbid I feel sad for 10 seconds. I could die.
I have this unwanted part in me that's an exile. And
can you go back to the exile list?
Yeah,
please?
like I don't know where this came from, but the thought that someone needs me in this moment, if I don't respond, they might find someone else to get their need met.
Yeah.
And so there's this fear that I it's so subconscious. There's a part of me that says, you better respond, pal.
That's the protector's
they're not
like,
going to come back knocking again.
Yeah. Now, there's a final part that we all explore. That's the part that can actually do what we're doing right now, going, oh yeah, I have this part, and I have this part, and this part's freaking out right now, and I can calm it. Mm-hmm. I can look at the part that's wounded and say, hey, Vince, why is sadness so scary? Why is feeling unwanted? What's going on there? And as we heal these parts, we do what Amber said. It's not just believe. It's we change our inner life. Mm-hmm. We become healthy. Mm-hmm. We no longer have these things that take over and, flip out or say yes or whatever the thing is that you're doing. That's why we're talking about this. Because this is living in death. When these parts take over, this is living in death.
Mm-hmm. It's tricky, isn't it? I struggle sometimes, kind of teasing my different parts apart. They speak in different ways. They have different voices. We've been talking about this last little while. When you recognize a voice that has become so, you just think it's you. And this was the brain screw. It's like, wait a second, that voice is not me. It's something inside of me that's saying things to me that is so convincing that I believe. I go, okay. When you begin to pull it apart and go, wait a second, you're wanting me to do this because you're worried that if I don't, I am going to feel some kind of pain. When we call them protectors, you go, you're trying to help me, but sometimes the very thing you're telling me to do isn't that helpful.
It's good in the short term. Long term?
Short term, it can be amazing.
Can you throw up the list, Annie?
Oh, have you identified it? Some of you have been around for this last little while. We've been talking about these different parts, these protectors that speak up and say, hey, watch it. I got this. I call him a kind of a PR manager. You know, he's worried about how I'm perceived in the world. And he's very loud in my ear. He was saying, don't shave your head.
Should never listen to that. That's always wrong.
My wife said, are you sure it's not always right? And so but he is very concerned with what I put out to the world. Sometimes Kathy will post something on social media and my PR manager freaks out, going, what the heck? You don't want people to know about that part of your life. All of a sudden, I'm like, Kathy, what'd you do? And I'm reacting, and she's like, what? It's just a picture of us hiking. I don't want them to. My PR manager is saying, you don't need them to know that. You don't. It's like constantly, don't wear that, Jeff. Don't say that thing. I'm like, okay. Leave out that detail. Just say this. Okay. Okay. Have you heard that part in your life ever? Just like this inner, and you know, there have been times when I trusted that part so much. I was like, you tell me what to do, I'll do it. You tell me what to say, I'll say it. But I'm telling you, that voice became so loud, I couldn't tell that it wasn't me. It's just a part. Do you recognize any of these parts in your life? Go through that list for a second. Is there one that jumps out and you go, what the heck? Yes. I got this fixer part in me. He's like, he's kind of like a Tom Hardy character. In this new show called Mobland, he's hired by the mafia family to just go in and fix things. Cool, focused, non-emotional. You might not believe I got that part in me. And there are times when there's people, when there's needs around, and Tom Hardy, fixer guy, shows up. And it's just locked down. We're going to clean up the blood here. We're going to get the body moved. Let's just take care of this. Don't worry. And they're freaking out. I'm like, relax. We got it. Fixer guy takes over. And it's like I can have a world raging right now, but fixer guy says, you are not going to show any emotion now. You're going to lock in. You're going to look them in the eyes. You're going to bring down the calm. You're going to bring in calm. You're gonna calm the storm now, and we're just gonna start talking fix solution. What are we doing right now?
Whether they want to hear the solution,
whether they want it or not. Yeah, Kathy's like, Jeff, just listen. I'm like, here's what you're gonna do.
I need
making
this
a
to
mess,
go away.
making mess of things. I'm thinking, no, we're gonna make this thing go away. Can you find some parts in there that have been running perhaps your show, and you become so identified with them you can't tell? They're just not you, they're just a part of you. Can you spot the influence they're having on your life? Maybe they're just whispering, you got to go shopping right now. Go online, Amazon's calling. Ooh, you know what you think? You know what you need? You need to go out and just go for that Big Mac.
Wait, we're not
You know
going
what?
against Big Mac, are we?
Okay, not
Don't
everyone.
sweat.
Maybe it has you procrastinating. It's saying, walk away right now. Don't do anything. You deserve a break right now. You don't need that problem right now. Maybe it has you controlling. It's saying, you cannot let them call the shots. Get involved. Tell them how this is going to go down. Maybe it's criticism. It's just saying, say something. Don't let them think it's okay. What does your part sound like? What is it doing? What's it protecting you from? Is it loneliness? Is it trying to protect you from that? Is it from failure? Is it so worried you're going to feel failure that right now it has you squirming to do whatever it needs? Rejection? Abandonment? These things under the thing are pulling strings, getting us acting in ways, because it's trying to protect you from feeling something. What are your most common hijacks? When it takes over, what do they look like? Where do your parts take over? Start leading you into perhaps more pain, more problems. Yeah, someone brought you here today. You're probably thinking, I thought this was an Easter service. What the heck?
We actually know the Easter story. We're just going to get to it in a second here.
This doesn't sound like an Easter service to me, folks. I'll just say this is a kind of a church community that's rooted in the Christian tradition. We teach from the Bible often. We honor the parts of our Christian tradition. Today we wanted to explore a particular version of the Easter story from one of the biblical characters or authors that maybe is a little less traveled at this time of year. And the Easter story, if you've been around this tradition, Christianity, for very long, you probably know the details pretty well. Probably in 9.5 to 9.9 of the churches around the neighborhood here are walking through the details this morning. Jesus, a Jewish rabbi from the early first century, the central figure of the Christian tradition, is captured and ultimately murdered by kind of the ruling, oppressing force represented by the Romans. They kill him as a political rebel. And the story kind of continues on. They go and they bury him in a tomb. And they roll this big rock over the tomb. And sometime later, something happens. The tomb gets opened up. The body's nowhere to be found. Good wins over evil. Even death is overcome. But those are the common details that are talked about, that are shared in this kind of traditional Christian setting. But what do those details actually mean? Like, why do they matter? How do they affect us today in 2025? That's kind of where we start asking the questions.
If you're asking how the first part matches with the Easter story, this is how we tie it together. There's an author named John. He wrote one of the Gospels, the stories about Jesus. He actually has his own interpretation of what the Easter story meant. It starts off with the most famous Bible verse ever listed, John 3:16. If you've ever been to a football game, you know the guy's got it on his big belly, he's got it like painted on his belly. That's from the Bible. And the verse says this. Can you throw it up there for me, Yanni? I think we're just having a technical difficulty. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And for many people, that's the whole point. John 3:16. They just say John 3:16, period. There's not John 3:16 and following verses. They're just like, no, John 3:16, that's all we got. Now here's the thing. The next verses say something different. So after John 3:16, John 3:17 says this. God sent his Son into the world not to judge the world, but to save the world. Just hold on a second. Not to judge the world. How many Christian traditions fail to read 17? To save the world. Now, throw up the next one for me, Yanni. People saw Jesus' example, but they didn't follow it. They loved living in death more. That's hard to take, isn't it? especially after I've had a rage attack on that damn drawer. Clearly, I love that more than I love being calm. But some saw his way, Jesus' way of living, and followed his example, changed their actions, and started to live not in death, but in life. This is how the world was saved. Humans, people like you and I, getting healthy, acting in the light, not living in death anymore, not spewing death all around us, but no, creating life. John says, that's the Easter story.
Yeah, for us, the image of Jesus on the cross, in the reading, it inspires us to live in the light, to see a new vision for living. The Easter story, we don't see the death. Man, we see this as pointing to a different way of living in our world. What does that living in light look like? If we go back to the same author, he says, this is my commandment, that you love each other. You love each other in the same way that I've loved you. He would say there's no greater love anyone has than the person who would lay down their life for their friend. Man, for us living the light, it's all about love. Loving the world, loving yourself, loving God or your conception of God. It's in the love. It's not in the opposite, living in death. It's living in love. When we love, something changes.
Now here's the thing that we want to get to today. This is why we're doing this today. I sat with someone recently who was an addict. The addict part of them that's trying to protect them from, I'm not sure what, had been really loud lately. Like loud. Like we need to go out to the bar. Like, not like, hey, this would be fun. No. We need to do this. And it's that same voice that, mine's maybe not an addict, but it's, I have to do this. I can't stop that. I need to do this. I can't say no. Whatever it is. And the person was like, screw that part of me. I'm so sick of that voice in my head. And the voice was like, oh, we're getting angry now? Well, I'll show you anger. I said, hey, wait. If this whole part stuff has any merit, they say, love your part. We've talked at Friend Church about this idea of I against them, the world around me, whoever this is, my enemy, the people I don't like, I am against them. I am in war. And part of the spiritual work is the action, the choice of going into love, not necessarily loving them, acting loving. Sometimes I'm like, but I'm going to choose to be in a way with you that's loving. What if? What if that's the very thing we need to do inside? When that person said, okay, wait a second. I said, hey, let's just try this. Whatever, this guy might be crazy. Who knows? Let's try it. See your part is trying to protect you. And just say thank you. The first reaction was, hell no, I'm not doing that. But as we made that shift, something changed in that voice of that part. It got quiet. Could it be we don't let the parts run our lives, but we love them for what they're trying to do for us? The procrastinator part, not like, oh, I can't believe I'm procrastinating again. No. Hey, what are you trying to protect me from? Is there some failure you don't want me to experience? What's going on? The part that drives the list, the part that's just saying, I got to keep doing it. Okay, I hear you. What are you trying to protect me from? Thank you. Thank you for what you've done for me. But I got it now.
Yeah, this is just, if you've ever had a part of you that's just made a mess of things. Sometimes my Tom Hardy part that wants to just fix things and just made messes again and again. I'm just like, be quiet. No, Jeff, not your problem. You're moving in. Quit, stop. Don't say anything. I get so angry at this compulsion to want to fix. I get so angry. This concept saying, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep chaos from circling back into your life. You're trying to help me. I get it. So rather than freaking out on this thing, backing up, going, okay, I get it. Thank you. You don't like her in that world of pain. You are wanting to stop that. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is hard.
If the Easter story is love your parts, if the Easter story is living in light, having a life that you believe in is about loving your parts, not necessarily letting them run the show, but realizing what they're trying to do and saying thank you. So here's what we're going to do today. You guys have cards on your chairs or someplace, little pencils. Yanni, can you throw up the list of protectors for me? Just leave it up there for a bit. Which part of you do you struggle to love? Which part of you is like, I'm sick of that part? I have like this Mennonite work ethic part that beats the crap out of me all the time. It's like, no, you can't stop. You have energy. Go. You have to do more. And I'm like, shut the hell up. What would happen if you just said, I'm going to write down the part that says getting things done? And instead of feeling anger, instead of feeling pushing away, instead of trying to make this go away, what if I said, I'm going to leave that for Easter today. I'm going to write down my dislike of that part on a card. And I'm going to let go of my feelings, those negative feelings towards it. Easter, we have this ritual where we burn things. It's this idea that says something was, and then I write it down and I light it on fire, and it's like I can let it go. So today, as I'm listening, what part of you do you struggle to love? What part of you do you go, oh, this part? Just write it on a card. Kind of hide it so your neighbor can't see it.
It's important to say we're not trying to remove this part.
No.
We're not saying that this is such a bad thing. We're going to burn it. But there's something powerful when you say, I am going to stop hating this piece of me. There's something that changes in that. In fact, when you can get underneath it and go, I know why you're doing what you're doing. And you can acknowledge that. You can say, you know what? I am going to let go of the number of times I've sworn at that part of me. My people pleaser, I have told off so many times.
It just gets louder.
I'm embarrassed of it. Every time I say it, there's a side of me that just goes, I hate that even the name people pleasing sounds so weak. I just go, and then every time I have to talk about it, I'm just like, I don't want to even talk about it. Today, I'm thanking it. I'm going to let go of that shame that I've applied to that part of me because it's trying to do something to help. So I'm looking at it, I'm going, you have been serving me, people pleaser. You've been trying to get me needed. You've been trying to get me away from being unwanted. I get it. Thank you.
For me, I'm writing down my avoidance side. It's a side that hurts my relationships. It's hurt my wife. I've hated it. I've hired counselors to try and get it out of me. I realize now I was trying to get an exorcism. My last counselor was like, Vince, maybe it's not about getting rid of it, killing part of you. Maybe it's understanding what it's trying to do for you. This part pays attention to how much I ask of my world. I'm letting go of my hatred. I'm starting to see its wisdom. Write down whatever you want. Fold it up so you can't see it. And then as the service ends, that's why I had a fire burning outside.
Yeah. It
You're like,
hasn't lit anything else on fire. That's great.
as you go out, just say, drop it in and say, thank you.
Here's the exciting thing as we do, like, kind of engage in this ritual. I see over the time that I've been becoming more and more aware of these parts of my life that have been controlling me, that have been pushing me in certain ways, sometimes in unhealthy ways. The more I'm seeing them, the more I'm not just getting angry, but I'm actually acknowledging what they've been trying to do. Something is changing in me. I feel myself living in light more than death. I find myself showing up in my world more than I used to. I'm actually catching myself as this one part starts talking, I'm going, not now. No, thank you. Thank you. I'm good. I'm good on this one. We believe that there is hope, that these things, they can be held in this healthy place where less and less they just run roughshod.
And our thesis today through Easter is, it comes through love. May we love all parts of ourselves. May we love the parts that have even done really hard things to us. And in love, may we find life.
Yeah, amen. Look, we're going to dismiss the service. We're going to let you in your own time, roll in, and you can drop your piece of paper into the burn barrel out there when you get a chance. Let me just say, next week, we over the last number of weeks, we've been talking about these parts. And it was interesting, as we first started, you get all these head kind of crank. They're going, wait, what? But we have heard so many stories, so many people that are all of a sudden, the light bulbs are going on. They are spotting some of the stuff. The traction that is people are experiencing in their lives as they're starting to identify reasons why they've taken certain patterns in their lives, why they've chosen at times even destructive things. More and more people are making healthier and healthier decisions to move into the light. And we're just thinking there's just so much momentum moving in this direction. We thought we're going to tack on a few more weeks. We're going to start a new series. It's called Discovering the Voices of Our Protectors. Right now, I'm telling you, we are dealing in a turbulent world. A lot of triggering going on the minute you walk outside that door. The minute you turn on your social media or the news, people are getting taken over by their parts, by their voices. And we want to help. There's some people that are just, even today, you're looking up at this list and going, I'm not sure what's going on. We want to take you to that point where you can actually start to spot the parts in you that are talking.
You can hear them real time.
Man,
that's that part. Oh, yeah.
Once you experience it, it's like it's hard to explain until it happens. And then when it happens, the world changes. And this is what we're hoping for our community. Next week we start part 1 of this Discovering Your Protector Voices. So anyways, thank you for joining us. Happy Easter, everyone.
Jeff's going to go to the burn barrel, so
Yeah,
if anything
I'll make
goes
sure
horribly
that we
wrong,
don't
then
have any runaway fires.
1 second. May we live in love for all of our parts. Amen?
Amen.
Or I guess hell yeah? Hell yeah. Let's do it. Thanks, everyone.